Very warm welcome from my side and the Progress Maker team. My name is Matthias Kolbuse. I'm the CEO of Progress Maker, and this very short video today is about when to use OKRs, when to use classical project management. A question that arises typically in huger initiatives like increasing customer satisfaction or increasing market share or whatever, where you have several detailed projects in there. And the question is, where do I use the OKR approach? Where do I use more the classical project management? Or if I use OKRs, do I have to use them all and everywhere? No, you don't have to. It even could be a bad idea to do that. So when to use which? There is a very simple rule of thumb about that. The rule of thumb is you just have to differentiate between complex and complicated project. And that's not something where the one or other is more important or more ambitious or more difficult to manage. There are complicated projects that are really challenging as well as complex projects that are really challenging. There is just a characterization of those two that differentiate them in the term that in a complicated project, you know all your variables, you know how they will behave, how they interrelate. If you build a new house, you know your variables, you know your suppliers there, hopefully you know how they will behave, what they have to do, in which order. They have to take care for the basement, build up the skeleton structure, and so on until they come to the roof. You have the picture in your mind. So it's very clear what has to be done by whom, in which order, and how things depend on each other. And in the normal cases, things will work out that way. In the more entrepreneurial or digital environment, that might be something like implementing SAP FICO, so a very standardized ERP module they want to implement. You know your cost structure, you know your profit center structure and how to implement that. You never ever would do that with an OKR. Their classical project management is the choice. It's the preferred choice on that, very deterministic. On the other hand, you have complex projects. And as already mentioned, sometimes people have the feeling complex is more ambitious and more important than complicated. That's not the case. In complex projects, you don't know your variables. You do not know how your variables that you know will behave, how they interrelate, and things like that. That's the definition of complexity. So let's say you want to increase customer satisfaction. You don't know how your customers will behave. You don't know how your competitors will behave. You don't know how customers will react to some new structured service environment, some new features, some whatever. So there, OKRs are the best choice you can do. That are your preferred choice because you will define a very clear objective, a target state that you want to achieve, like a short time traveling machine. Look on that, my detailed videos on how to define good OKRs. And then use key results, which are not action-oriented in the classical management, in complicated project. The classical project management is arranged around actions. So if you build the house, you define, make the basement, build up the skeleton structure, take care for the roof, and so on and so forth. So you have the actions that you're going to undertake to achieve your objective. In an OKR, you have the objective, so we want to have increased customer satisfaction, and you do not focus the actions because they might be misleading. You focus on key results that are either output or outcome criteria. So that might be number of feedbacks from a customer peer group on suggested product features, or feedback rate of a customer peer group on some new sales structure or service structure that you have implemented, or number of newly arranged sales subsidiaries in their sales processes, whatever. And then you use those key results to drive things forward to get feedback on, do I make progress with what I do, the input? And by that, move your key results forward. So to take just another example, you want to have an objective about an improved process. And instead of describing all the activities that you're going to undertake, doing analysis of the process, do trainings in the process, do hospitalization of some process member, whatever, you won't do that. You will have just perhaps two key results: numbers of identified process potential and number of realized process potential. And you move those two key results forward. And perhaps you do some interviews or you do some analysis in some different way, but you do that just with a short-term planning to always take the best choice to drive your key results forward. So your focus are key results, which are output or outcome criteria to achieve your objective. And in the other case, where you do the classical project management, your focus of planning, thinking, steering is input, are actions that you undertake, and check your progress, what is done and how you move forward. That's the core difference between those two. For a human being, it's easier to do the classical project management because the actor is much nearer to us than the thinker. And that means, in general, we hate agility, real agility, which means focusing on the outcome that we'd like to achieve and always rethink what's the fastest, easiest, more productive way to achieve that objective. That takes a lot of effort to do that every month or quarter and reassess your journey, how your way through the jungle is the best one, instead of having a clearly defined plan that you just have to move forward and check the things that have to be done. This is to the classical project management, complicated project. The more result-driven, result-oriented management styles of OKR is especially important on complex projects. So that's the rule of thumb: when to use OKRs, when to use classical projects. Hope you enjoyed that very short video. See you next time.